Do you want to learn how to use and 3-star with Queen Charge Lavaloon at Town Hall 10? Well, this guide is going to teach you everything from base identification to the Lavaloon portion. With that being said, let's jump straight into the guide. So you're here to learn how you guys can use the Queen Charge Lalo attack at Town Hall 10. Well, this guide has 100% got you covered. So obviously we're going to be talking about 3 different ways of doing this. We're going to be showing one where you can deal with single target infernos. Again, this is going to be a little bit more base dependent, but not using anything to break your queen in. Another way is using the jump and wall breakers, and the other way is using quad quake. So we got all 3 of those in this video. Now, the first one that you're seeing is going to be where the queen does not use anything to break in, not even the stone slammer. So why was this base chosen in terms of not using any sort of way to break your queen in? Well, specifically, if we take a look at where the air defenses are, a good chunk of them actually are mostly on the outside of the base. They all have access to or from that queen. So a queen walk can actually get all of them. But if we take a look at this bottom section here, we can have the king funnel down here like he always does. We can have a king funnel that way in order to get that air defense. That's pretty solid. Then we could actually start our queen walk here and get our queen to go into this area here and make her way over to this air defense as well, getting rid of 2 other air defenses. That's huge, especially on a base design like this. Now, how are we going to do so? Well, we can actually use a baby dragon and a couple wizards to actually clear those army camps. Just because you see these army camps right here really makes it fairly easy to really make that queen walk fairly easy, so that then as long as you take these 2 out, your queen will be able to walk. So that's the idea. Try to take advantage of where those army camps are placed, because that way you can allow your queen to then easily walk into the base. So what are your key objectives with an attack like this? Well, specifically, you are going to be looking for the enemy queen, the enemy CC, and also getting at least 1 or 2 air defenses depending on the number of hounds you're bringing. 1 hound is going to be at least 2 or more air defenses, one hound is going to be at least 2 or more, and 1 hound or 2 hounds is going to be at least 1 or more air defenses. So typically that's what you're going to be looking for. Now, extra pieces of value that you want to be looking out for are stuff like wizard towers, expos, multi-infernos, air sweepers, but you notice here on this base, there are no multi-infernos, they're just singles. You can still do this on this type of base. The only problem is you don't want to queen charge into a single inferno, especially if you don't have more than 1 freeze. So that's a really, really good thing to think about when you guys are really taking a look. I know some of you guys see a lot of single target infernos, so this is definitely one way to deal with them, which is not dealing with them at all. Now, if you are going to be having to deal with them, then try to bring more than just 1 freeze. That's going to really help you in the long haul. But other than that, you should be able to get through this base, or through a base like this, pretty well. So let's go ahead and kind of, show you guys the replay and show you guys exactly what's going on. So in terms of this, another key thing to remember with a queen walk Lavaloon is that you really want, or a queen walk or queen charge Lalo, you want to try and make sure that you aren't going to be queen charging into the air sweepers. If we take a look at where the air sweepers are, they are nowhere near where the healers are going to be and where that queen is going to be. This actually means that the queen now has an advantage getting through the base. And also, if we take a look at this base design here, the first thing that you guys probably notice is that the queen is a little bit more up front. Again, if we notice that the queen can actually target the enemy queen, that's a really, really good thing to really identify. Now, another thing is that I forgot to mention is the rage spell usage. You want to use your rage over the queen and healers, mainly because you want the healers to be healing up the queen as it goes through. So again, when the queen needs it the most, and when they're dealing with the enemy CC. Like we see right here, we see an Electro Dragon CC, something that you guys also probably see a lot as well. So definitely, this is definitely one way to deal with it, using the freeze and poison, getting rid of it fairly easily. So now once you've actually gotten your value, you can then start using your Lavaloon portion. And we don't have to really, start sending everything in. We don't have to send the Lava Hound until later, just so that then it could soak up some traps while the loons go in along with the Stone Slammer. This then allows us to get to the single Inferno and then move our way this way to the other single Inferno, so that then we have enough loons for that back end. And especially since there's not too much splash on that side of the base. There's no multi-Infernos. There's only a wizard tower and a single Inferno and also an air defense. So realistically, getting through this base wasn't really that difficult. Now, if you guys are a little bit annoyed about my voice, I am a little bit sick. However, don't worry about it. So just, try to pay attention to a lot of what I'm talking about in this video. But definitely, this gives you guys a strong idea of exactly how you guys can use the Queen Charge Lalo without actually having to use anything to break her in, and also how to deal with single target Infernos. Now, if you do want a Queen Charge, as I said, into single Infernos, I would 100% say try to make sure to bring at least 2 freeze spells. So maybe -1 rage or maybe 1 haste and bring a freeze. That's just my sort of thought. So let's go ahead and bring you guys another example, which is using jump and also wall breakers. So in terms of this base design right here, I think the first thing that I notice as an attacker is that we take a look at these little dead zones right here. So definitely that's kind of splitting up the base a little bit. But if we take a look at where the core is, we have access to a lot of things. We have access to 2 air defenses, the air sweepers, both multi-infernos, and let's go ahead and kind of see, all right, where do we want a Queen Charge? Well, if we already take a look at it from here, this is probably going to be our best entry. But we also notice one thing. There's an air sweeper. So one of the things, and this is definitely an exception, it's really base dependent, but if you can Queen Charge into an area that doesn't have as much DPS and there is an air sweeper blowing back on it, it may be a good idea to Queen Charge into that area. Specifically since you most likely won't have to deal with too much of the air sweeper, plus there's not a lot of DPS surrounding it. There may be like maybe 2 cannons and an expo, but there isn't going to be like 3 expos and a bunch of cannons and a multi-inferno targeting, and even an air sweeper. So the idea is looking, if you are going to be Queen Charging into an air sweeper, try to make sure that instead of fighting the air sweeper with a lot of DPS, you look for an area of low DPS that the air sweeper is blowing into, and that is the idea with a base or a base design like this or whatever. Now you may ask yourself, but wait, doesn't those dead zones actually make it harder for that queen? No, because what you're going to be able to do is use the wall breakers once or twice depending on the number that you're bringing. But again, if you get lucky enough to break into the wall and break again and then use a jump, you're going to be able to easily get into the core of the base, and you don't have to really deal with those dead zones, because it's really not going to be too much of an effort. Now again, you want to try and make sure that you set the funnel, and again, also using a test wall breaker so that then any of the wall breakers don't get hit or don't trigger any small bombs. That's the idea. Now again, you want to deal with the enemy CC, and you can see again dealing with dealing with the air sweeper here. However, the poison is able to make sure that that Electro Dragon does not get anywhere near the queen. So make sure that you place the queen or the poison before it actually reaches the queen, so that then you can actually get more value. And also another note that I probably didn't say before, make sure that you're using the rage spells so that then when the queen is actually entering into the CC or to the queen, using the rage in order to keep her alive is the main focus and the idea. Now again, you really want to make sure that you can get at least 2 air defenses if possible. Again, 1 Lava Hound is being used in this replay, but you can see that getting 3 air defenses here with that Queen Charge is really what's going to be able to get him a 3-star. So that's the idea. You really want to try and make sure to take a look at what you're going to be specifically looking for in order to, get through the base. So this includes, knowing how many air defenses you need to take out. Now, what about the number of loons, you may ask? And I know I've done it in the past as well. In terms of number of loons, it's going to be dependent on how in your personal playstyle. In terms of this, what you really want to try and do is make sure that you place at least 2 to 3 to 4 in terms of one group. And if you're usually, what you really want to try and do is have the Stone Slimer be a tank for a few loons, and then have the Hound be another for a few more loons. But again, you really want to try and make sure that, you know, as the Stone Slimer moves through, that you're dropping in loons as you move on through the base. So that's the main idea with an attack like this, but specifically, you want to try and place that. So I'll try and give you guys the exact number of loons in the next one we have, which is going to be Quad Quake. So on this final design right here, we see that there are some Expo Islands. Now, another thing that you may notice from the army composition is there is a Quad Quake. So when is it a good time to use a Quad Quake? Well, let's take a look at where the Queen is, and let's also take a look at where the Multi-Inferno is. So these two Multi-Inferno compartments make it very easy for a Quad Quake to happen. Specifically because if we decide to go ahead and walk this way and charge into here, we already have access to the Queen. Instead of, you know, there being another layer of walls there, we already have access to the Queen fairly easy. Another thing is that we also have access to the 2 air defenses right there. So that's a really good thing. And another thing that we also have is access to this air defense. So we already have access to 3 air defenses. Now, what if we miss that other air defense? Well, we still have that second Lava Hound, so we can still use that. But again, we really want to try and take advantage of how the compartments are. So making sure that we funnel this side for the Queen using a baby dragon or the King, and then using the Queen to go into here, mainly walking in this way, and then getting the Queen into here to get the value, which is the Queen CC, the Multi-Inferno there, and also the air defenses. That's what's really huge about this. If you notice with this army composition, there's only 1 haste being used. That is going to be the downside to using the Quad Quake. The idea with the Quad Quake, get as much value as possible with using as little hastes as possible. So the idea is you really want to try and make sure to get as much value with your Queen Charge, so that then your Lalo is a bit easier. So that's the idea. And if we take a look at this base design, all of the air defenses are on one side of the base, meaning that this other side can be perfectly Laloed from just, you know, starting at this area right here at this Expo Island and then moving around this way. Just remember that you also want to try and get access to at least an air defense, or an air super if possible. So that is the main idea. Now, another thing to really take a look at from this base design alone is the army camps. How can we take advantage of that? Well, we can actually take advantage of it with the King and something like that, because all we have to do realistically is allow the Queen to walk over here, take out a large camp space or a large building there, and then we could also use the King on the other side to then start moving in and actually start, you know, taking out those certain defenses. And also, you really want to try and make sure of this. Make sure that the King is not near the Queen, because if that King goes right near the Queen, there could be trouble, and it could be fairly difficult in order to get the healers right back on the Queen. You want to keep them on the Queen as much as possible. Another thing that you see here is, again, all 3 of these have been Electro Dragon CCs, if you notice. But here's the thing with this one. It's that, you know, again, showing you guys how you guys can deal with an Electro Dragon. Again, this works against damage CCs. Make sure that you poison early enough and you raid your Queen, so then you can deal with the CC and the Queen almost at the same time if they're near each other. Other than that, use them separately. But then as you're moving into the base with the loons and the Stone Slimer, in this case, you don't have to instantly use the loons to go right behind. You can wait for the hounds and everything to go in. Again, you really want to make sure that you know the number of loons. So in the just below your screen right here at the little, at the bottom, you are going to see the number of loons per defense in terms of a Town Hall 10 base. This is going to give you guys a good opportunity of knowing exactly. Another thing to keynote, because this is something I missed, in terms of air defenses, make sure that you know where they're placed so that then the hounds can actually get a lot of value tanking for the loons with it. So really make sure that, like, you know, they're near multi-infernos, they're near wizard towers, expos, Teslas, archer towers, and all that. So that's really something really to keep in mind. So definitely this gives you guys a solid foundation of how you guys can use this attack and use it really well. So let me know in the comments below if you guys really like this attack and you guys want to see more about it. I would really appreciate if you guys would really, you know, engage onto these videos and comment. It really means a lot. Also, leave a like and also subscribe for more of my content if you guys haven't. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss any videos. Now, another thing, if you guys want to join the X of Humanity family, the Only the Brave family, the Playmaker family, or even the EA family, the Elite Academy family, then feel free to join any of their discords in the description below. And also feel free to join my community discord and follow me on Twitter at CorruptYT. I will leave a link to both of those in the description. With that being said, that's going to do it, guys, for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll be seeing you guys next time. Corrupt, signing out.